Welcome back to My Hero Academia Anime Review, episode number 37. This one I'm reviewing the new anime episode here. This 159 to 161, thus pretty much finishing up almost the entirety of this arc. There's actually one chapter left, which they're probably going to adapt next for the very next episode, Smoldering Flames, which probably deals with the aftermath of this very arc, plus, of course, one more fight for this particular story arc. Yeah, but the High Side Raid, yeah, this episode wraps it up. Episode kind of picks up where, now, it starts off with seeing, it doesn't pick up exactly where last week's episode left off, where you see the Overhaul is in fact defeated. It picks up, actually, it rewinds a little bit back before that, because they actually skipped over this in last week's adaptation, in the last adaptation, because they only adapted 2 pages from chapter 59. This episode, they pretty much adapted the rest of this chapter. Yeah, unknown why they decided to just stop where they did for last episode. This time they just, okay, so they start off with the rescuing of Eraserhead by having something to take out the Corrosus guy by stabbing with a swordfish right through his arm, and he gets arrested on the spot. And then, like, other members of the High Side organization get arrested really quickly, and we actually get a chance to see, now there's some minor visual changes here and a lot of additions they made for adaptation of what was essentially 3 chapters, and they actually added like a few lines of dialogue, which awesome the fact they did, because the lines that they added make perfect sense, the fact they added those. Yep. And after, of course, they, well, while all this is going on, all capturing the villains, Deku looks like he's about to explode, and Ares about to explode too. Lucky enough, Eraserhead, you actually see him move, and they actually see him from the front this time. In the manga, they only see him from the side. In the anime, they changed it slightly to where you only see Eraserhead from this front. And he uses his quirk on him, and that's what stops Arian from basically going out of control, and of course Deku. Deku is later seen handing off the girl to EMTs who give him a report on her condition because she fainted afterwards. Night Eye still has the little spike in his belly, which that affects there's a thing affecting him, which basically comes to play later on in the episode. Mostly put the dialogue between Night Eye and Deku here is mostly the same. No change here. And one thing I do appreciate, though, was when they take down, I think it's Overhaul, when it comes down, they say by Otaku, they actually added a line of dialogue here where they actually named the move. She names the move that she uses to take him down, to sort of basically cripple his arms, so he can't use them. Yeah, that line did not exist in the manga. That was something they added to the anime, which that made perfect sense to add there, because I think probably some martial artists probably do in fact do that with the name of the moves. It's basically a move she basically learned from the last agency she worked for when she was briefly doing an internship. Yep. And we also get a chance to see the Dragon Hero claw her way out from the top in her dragon form. Mm-hmm. Yep. Later on, she's back in regular human form, and she basically tells Deku he did a good job. Well, basically, not time to celebrate, but we did good here. And they get a report later where they see Netsu, I think her name is, the female member of the Big Three. And she says, give like a lot of half the credit to Deku for basically minimalizing like collateral damage, because I think Deku knew about the heavy amount of destruction between the battle between All Might and All For One, so he must have strategized, though, yeah, I should probably make sure he only damages like the area on the giant hole that formed the street, because if he landed anywhere place else, it probably would have caused a heck of a lot more casualties. And they also mentioned it's a weekday. So, was it like a Wednesday? Probably. Yeah. Jesus, give Deku half the credit for basically preventing a lot of... Like, apparently, Hisai himself only damaged 4 buildings. The casualties were minor at best. So some scrapes, scrapes and bruises, which not bad for for a raid for basically taking a group of villains, because I'm sure that probably it was before with the casualty count was probably higher, and the cost of the collateral damage, like to the buildings, was probably a lot more costly. Yes, good thing Deku was a genius when it comes to stuff like this. He's a good strategist, and well, then we add some stuff. Then we cut to before we get to the hospital. This is an awesome scene with the League of Villains where they actually take Overhaul. They tried to get Overhaul's like stuff, like his drug. They couldn't find all of it. They found some stuff that was on him, but that was simply it. Yeah, they basically block a car, and of course Todoroki is identified on sight. Like, oh look, it's Todoroki and the League of Villains. It's a slight wording change, but yeah. And Dobby's like, yeah, you're becoming famous. And then like he jumps off the car and is about to take down the cops until the Saiyan hero Snatch steps in and stops him. He actually adds, like, he says pretty much the same line, like he's his quirk doesn't work against the Saiyan. And basically, I love the fact that they gave him another line of dialogue here. So, you have a good point about that. And they also added another line here when he talks to Dabi. Yeah, because in the manga, they actually cut him off before I got a chance to finish what he was saying. In the anime, they actually added a few more words of dialogue to him. It's like, hey, you're the one who you're the one burned all those corpses, basically. Yeah, they actually said, yeah, it was implied he did in the manga. In the anime, oh yeah, he definitely did do it. And he's taken down by compression. He just basically turned into a ball. Implied he might have killed him, but nothing much said of it. Overhaul, what happens with him? Same as in the manga, except they made a slight visual change here to where when they removed his hand, like one of his hands, like they have compression take away one of his arms, and the other arm, like they do show Todoroki basically uses the K on him, and in the anime they actually just show the thing just being tossed. In the manga they actually show it being tossed. Here it's like we cut to like the ground, like, oh, here's the thing that holds Overhaul's handcuffs. And mostly put after this is exactly the same. And it's implied he was killed in some explosion, but nope, he's alive. He's in prison right now. As what goes on with the hospital, mostly put, it's mostly the same, except they made some word dialogue. They made changes to the dialogue. Mostly put, the scenes are exactly the same. Like the show happened with Sun Eater, where he's got a crack in his skull, but they say he's fine. Yeah, in the case, it's actually a change what they did in the manga, to where it was like a crack in his face. Here it's like a crack in his skull. Mostly, Red Riot. What happened? Like the dialogue for him. Wait, like basically it cuts to the hospital, and Deku is mostly the same. Like visually the same. Still got the same burn mark on him, and basically not explaining what's going on with his arm. But look up, Eraser comes in. And this is the first time Eraser is seen without his trademark scarf, because I don't think he's ever actually been seen without his scarf on, because his scarf has been there ever since the series started. And this is probably by far first time in the anime he's been seen without his scarf around his neck, because normally he has his scarf with him. Yeah, he says that, oh yeah, his condition, he got a few stitches. That's simply it when it comes to him, which is fine. Fat Gum says he's perfectly fine, but they actually cut out a line of dialogue where he says he's hungry because it's Fat Gum. And Night Eye, his condition is mostly the same, and of course Deku was mentioned. Eraser had mentioned to Deku that basically because of Deku's intel, she's in the quarantine. But don't worry, she's not going to be there for very long, because she's just going to be at the school soon, probably in the next story arc. Which I'm looking forward to that. Probably not the next one, but the one that comes after that, because I reviewed that like a couple years ago. The cultural festival arc. I reviewed that a couple years ago, and by the time I got onto the manga, I cut up to where it was at the time. Basically, when the manga when I ran out of chapters to read, I was pretty much at the cultural festival arc. That's pretty much where I was at when I caught up with the manga 2 years ago. And now we're almost to the point where we're actually getting up to where I actually start reviewing the manga. Yeah, we're probably going to get there in probably a couple episodes, which it is quite something, which makes it the third series I've watched, we actually get to where I actually started reviewing the anime. For One Piece, they actually got to where I was at in the manga like last year. Like this year, we actually also got for Black Clover, where we got to the point in the manga where I started reviewing it, and now we're doing the same thing for My Hero Academia, getting to where I started reviewing the manga, which is fantastic. Yep. And let's see. And they go see Sir Night Eye, and mostly put his dialogue is mostly the same. Mirio, who comes in, they actually sort of add little visual cues here where there's a little more see him a little bit more. Also, before I continue here, Spinner, the member of the League of Villains, they actually make a slight visual change with him. Because when we first see him, a lot of time when you see him, he's only seen inside the cab. You never see the front of the truck that he drives. Yeah, that's quite something though, the fact they changed it. I get the reason why they changed it because, well, it probably makes more sense to have all the dialogue he says while he's inside the frickin' truck. Like, you see him like inside the cab. You don't see him outside when he's making the talking. Probably because they can't hear him in the way, and it's perfectly fine for that visual change. Also, they added in here where Rockload, like, you see his smoking, you see his beautiful wife and his child running toward him. In the anime, you actually see him actually jump into his arms when he's in bed. Like, kudos for Studio Bones for doing that. Like, that was a smart decision to do, and I approve of that change. Because I think even I'm sure the writer probably had to approve that change. I'm sure he probably like, that's fine. I got no problem with that. Yep. And then we get to stuff with Sir Night Eye. Mostly put this scene is played exactly the same way as the manga. Like, no, with the exception of we go with Mirio, we show a little bit more before we get up to when you see him, and some slight wording change. Mostly put the scene is played exactly the same. Like, we see Bubble Girl, Centipede. Yeah, there's a character named Centipede. We see All Might there in his non-muscle form, and Recover Girl's there. Yeah, Recover Girl, this is the first time since that I can think of. I think the last time officially she was seen in the anime was, off the top of my head, was probably it could be the Force training arc. That was probably the last time I can think of she was seen in the anime. But it's been quite a while since she was last seen. Great to see the character. And they have All Might go meet with Sir Night Eye, and they sort of in a way reconcile before he passes. They have Deku comes in, and then Mira comes in, and mostly it's mostly the same, and it's a well directed scene. I gotta give high praise not only for the English dub for basically doing this, playing the scene like not as a comedic effect, because we have a serious character who was just introduced at pretty much the start of this very arc, at the end of the previous season, and now he dies. Like, I think it was just like almost like 10 episodes after his debut. Actually, I think it wasn't 10 episodes, more like 14 episodes after this character's debut at the end of season 3. And now here we are, episode 77, and he dies. 14 episodes after his debut. I guess, now, in the case of the manga, it was actually a little bit longer. He was there more than just, let's say, 14. He was there for like 40 chapters. Like, he was here a lot longer. The only reason why there's not much, let's say, appearances for him in the anime, because they adapted more than one chapter per episode. This one adapted 3. I think last week was basically about 3. They had 3 episodes in a row, adapted 4. Yep. And at the end of the episode, Sir Night Eye dies because of the wound he suffered during the Heisei raid. And that's the episode. This episode was really good. It's more like a conclusion to this particular arc. It's not, let's say, an epilogue per se. That will probably be handled next week, which is going to wrap up this arc and start. It looks like it's going to start the Remetal Course arc, which I thought the anime. I heard a rumor. Now, I knew they were going to do the internship arc. That was definite. They were going to do that. And the plan was, what I heard, they were going to adapt the Culture Fest. I heard about that one. Remetal Course, they didn't mention anything about adapting this. But since we're adapting this next, I think this is a smart decision on the part of the anime to do. My personal guess is it's probably going to be 2 episodes. Yeah, it's probably gonna be 2 episodes to adapt this whole entire story because I'm sure they probably want to give the cultural festival arc probably the last 7 episode season because the seasons will be like 26 episodes per se, like 25ish, and they're probably gonna have Remodel Corps take up the next episode 79 and conclude with 80 and have all the rest be the cultural festival arc. Yep. Which I've heard about the stuff for the later half of the season. We're going to introduce new villains like the gentleman. Yeah, we're going to bring him in. He is, for what I've heard, and the way people describe him, and I do agree with this because I've actually read this. He is pretty much the series version of the Mad Hatter. I mean, this arc we had a version of Bane, so why not Mad Hatter? The character I could the what is the character's name? Part of the organization. Yeah, who he is for his version of himself. Uh, easy. Um, yeah. That character, in my opinion, is probably the series version of Bane. I mean, Thrice is the series version of Deadpool. So the other guy, Bane. How? His appearance and the fact he can go really big. That's my personal theory about the character. Yep. But not much else to say about this episode. But I'm definitely looking forward to next week because it looks like that Gran Torino is going to do something. You see him briefly in the episode in cameo, but I think that next week going to adapt his fight with Warp, which I'm looking forward to that. Yep. So that's it for this particular review. Now I am going to do hopefully review New Chapter manga, which is going to come out tomorrow. I'm going to review that tomorrow along with One Piece and Boruto. But as the case of videos say, there's like one more I want to do, and that's just case closed, and that'll probably be it. The only video I probably would do today is probably another Rama half review, but that's pretty much it when it comes to reviews. Probably about at least 2, but probably about one more I'm probably able to do today, okay? But see you next view. Bye.